and welcome back to Hello Adulting, the podcast. I'm your host, Shanique. I hope you guys had an amazing week, or you're having an amazing week. You see, I'm so used to having the podcast on a Sunday that I tend to think the week is done when I'm talking to you, but it's the middle of the week, it's hump day, it's a Wednesday, happy hump day. I hope that your week is going really well, and if it's not, look at it this way, it's only 2 more days until the weekend. We're almost there. We can hang on a little bit longer. I am so happy that I decided to sit down and record this episode. I'm not going to tell you, it was very hard after a long day of work to come home to record this episode, but I'm happy that I stuck with it because we're creating new habits this year, right? We're getting back into the groove of things, and we are not gonna be inconsistent. We're not gonna flake on what we say we're gonna do. We're not gonna flake on our promises to ourselves this year. All right, cool. So in this week's episode, I'll be talking about goal setting and giving you a few tips, kind of letting you into my mind a little bit into how I goal set, and maybe there are things that I use in my goal setting practice that could be helpful in yours. So that's what this episode is about today, and I'm not gonna go on with the long talking. I'm just gonna go straight into it. All right, so if you've been listening to the Hello Adulting podcast for a while, then you know that goal setting is one of my favorite things to do. It's one of the things that help to keep me grounded and help to keep me on track. Now, last year, as I mentioned in my previous episode, I didn't do any goal setting. I didn't set any goals last year. I was just freestyling. I felt like there was so much on my plate that I didn't need to add anything else to it. But goal setting is not always or only about adding things to your plate. Sometimes it's about streamlining what is already on your plate to help you get there faster, or to help illuminate the way for you to get there, because sometimes you can get stuck, and goal setting, well, at least the way that I do it, helps to make things look a little bit clearer and helps you to get to where you're trying to get to a lot faster. Okay, so when I'm goal setting, I like to get centered, I like to get quiet, I like to book some free time, some time to myself. So I'm not really around my friends, I'm not around my partner. I just want to be by myself so that I can have time to think and to process. And I like to get books. So I'm a journal. I love to journal. I'm a journaler. I love it. I love buying new books, and if you see the camera shaking, it's because I'm trying to take up my new journal for the year. Well, it's not a journal, so I have many different books. So I have journals, I have diaries, and then I have cute notebooks that make me want to write things down. If you're watching on YouTube, then you'll see mine. This one says Chase the Sun. It's a hardcover book. It's very pretty. Makes me want to write in there, right? So that was what I got for my goal setting this year. You don't have to do all of that, but one of the things that I recommend that you do is definitely get something to write on, because you must write your goals down. So whether you're going to do it on the Notes app on your phone, whether you're going to download an app, one that I'm using also on my phone, kind of just to help me keep on track every day of the week, is called Notion. It's there is a desktop version and a mobile version, and it syncs because you sign in. So across my phone, across my laptop, I also use it for work. So my personal laptop, work laptop, it's all synced. So no matter what device I'm using, I'm able to see what I need to get done. And as I said, I use it for work as well. So on a daily basis, to keep track of the goals that I have at work and what I need to do to achieve them, they're all in one place. So if you want to use the Notes app on your phone, if you want to download an app, Notion is a very good one. Or if you want to just get a notebook, you can get any notebook. Loose leaf, whatever it is, but just make sure you have something to write your goals down. All right, so once you found something that you're going to write things down on, get centered. And my first tip is to do a brain dump. Now, a brain dump is exactly what it sounds like. You're sitting down, you're thinking, what are some of the things I want to achieve this year? And you're literally just writing them as they come to you, with no rhyme or reason. As they come to you, you're writing them down. So maybe your brain dump will look something like, I want to go to 6 countries. I want to buy a car. I want to buy a house. I want to get married. I want to start a family. You're brain dumping. You just things that you want to achieve. Everything. They're just coming at you, and you're writing them all down. And that's fine. Right now, things don't need to be neat. Things don't need to be tidy. Things don't even need to make sense yet. It's just the desires of your heart, that you're pouring out on paper. You're trying to get everything out. For me, when I do a brain dump, I kind of get a lot more centered. I get a lot clearer. My head feels a little emptier, so I have space to think, if that makes sense. So that's one of the things that I do first. The very first thing I do is a brain dump, messy leaf paper. And if you're like me, who is tinge OCD or have anxiety, I don't want to mess up my nice pretty book that I just bought, so I just get like some loose paper and just do that brain dump over there. Everything that I want, that I feel like I want to achieve this year. No rhyme or reason, no way how we're gonna get there, none of that, just raw data. All right, after I do the brain dump, the next thing I do is I filter the list by writing out why I want each thing. So and that helps me to kind of put things into perspective now. So after I've written out that this year I want to travel to 6 countries, I want to buy a house, I want to buy a car, I want to get married, I want to have children, I want to start 3 businesses, then, and these are not my goals, by the way. These are not my goals. But once I've put all of that down on my brain dump paper, then I start to question things. All right, first one, I want to travel to 6 countries. Why do I want to travel to 6 countries? And I put my reason. And for me, when I'm doing this process, when I get to this point, sometimes at this point, I start crossing things off. Like, I don't need that. Like, why do I need that? There's no reason for that. So I start marking things off. But this is not necessarily the phase or the stage at which you need to be marking things off your list and narrowing down. It's just putting a reason to it, because there's a reason you write it down. There's a reason you want to travel to 6 countries. Maybe you want to do 30 before you're 30. There are different reasons, and it doesn't matter. It's a no judgment zone. Oh, stick a pin. I feel like I'm going really, really fast, so let me slow down. This goal setting practice, is a no judgment zone. You are not about to be judging yourself. You're not about to be feeling silly. You're none of that. None of that. It's literally you having a reasoning with yourself. So it's no judgment. So if the reason you want to travel to 6 countries is because you have passport long time and you feel like you need to get it stamped up now, that's perfectly fine. That's a very, very valid reason. Whatever reason you put on the paper, it's very valid. So don't judge yourself to come up with some articulate answer or something that makes sense or you think would make sense to the outside world. It's not about them. It's about you and why you felt like this. Why was this in your head in the first place? So you're writing down your why. And this is going to be very important. So make sure that you really think about why you want something. Like, really think about it. Don't just put it down on paper because of whatever. Like, really stop and think of, why do you want this? What is this going to add to your life? Or what is it going to take away from your life if you don't have it? Like, think about it like that. All right. And then after I've done that practice, what I do next is I get still and try to imagine who I want to be at the end of the year. So what does the Shanique at the end of 2023 look like? Literally, in detail. And I describe that in as many details as I can of who I want to be when the year is done. So I want to be, and I start to write it out, exactly who I want to be when the year is done. And it's important because whatever goals you set, you are setting it in pursuit of your future self. So it needs to be, everything needs to align. So what you want and who you want to become needs to align with why you're doing it, because that's going to be your why. Getting to the end goal is going to be your why. So you have to, I feel like it's very important to get those pieces and put them all together. So this is all a session. So you just brain dump all of your goals that you could possibly want for the year. You've just now written out your why. You're filtering out your list that way. The next thing you're doing is you're saying, who do I want to be at the end of the year? And you're describing that person in great detail. I mean, I wish I could give you an example without getting like super duper personal. Let me see. It's literally just you sitting down and thinking, okay, at the end of the year, I want to be my own boss. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be somebody who has done 5 courses. I want to be fluent in Spanish. Like, those are the things, like describing yourself in great detail. You want to be somebody who dresses better. You want to be somebody who spends more time with God. You want to be somebody who spends more time with your family. Like, every aspect of your being, you want to put that down on paper, who you want to be. So it's not just about the physical. It's not just about the assets or anything else that you could have, the material things. It's also about, I want to be more in tune with myself. I want to have a mindful practice. I want to be more mindful. I want to have less anger issues. I want to be kinder. I want to do more charity. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be only material things that you're thinking about. It's you, the whole being. So every aspect, the physical, the mental, the emotional, all of it, the spiritual, all of it. Right? Yeah, I want to be healthy. I want to gain 10 pounds. I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to fit into a size 3 dress, whatever it is. I don't even know if dresses come in size 3, but whatever. Whatever it is, whoever you're going to be, whoever you want to be, you're putting that all down on paper. And then after that, you are going to go through the brain dump list. Okay, I'm reading from my paper. Hold on. So after you've done that, after you've written out who you plan to be or who you want to be at the end of the year, now is the time that you're going to pick back up your list. This is your brain dump list now, with your whys beside each of them. And you're going to go through and pick out all of the goals, all of them that you've written down, that serves the person who you want to be at the end of the year. That means that if you've decided that at the end of the year, you want to have $1 million in savings, but on your list you have that you want to travel to 6 countries, you want to buy a car, but you want to buy the car cash, and you want to start a business, then you're going to have to look at those 3 goals and see which of these goals, if any, serve the person who I'm trying to be at the end of the year. Can I have $1 million in savings if I travel to 6 countries this year? Yes. How will I do that? No. Okay, that means I need to either lower the amount of countries or take it off completely. So that's what you're doing. And this exercise is not something that is rushed or anything of the sort. You're literally looking at all of your goals. You're questioning yourself. You're questioning your whys. And you're seeing what best serves who you're trying to be. Because a lot of the time, and this happens to me too, like, we think we know how everything's going to work together. There are things that we all want things in life. But sometimes we don't realize that what we want is in direct contradiction to who we're trying to be at the end of the year. So we're trying to build up our savings, but we also want to go to a new country every month. Maybe that can happen, but what is it that I need to change in order to make that happen? And we're going to get there. But for right now, the stage is that you're going through your brain dump list and you're looking at all of the things, on all of the goals that you've written down, or the desires at this point, all the desires that you've written down, and seeing which one of them best serves the person who you're trying to be at the end of the year. Which one of them is going to help you to become that person, and which ones are going to hinder you or block you or delay you becoming that person at the end of the year. And sometimes when you reach this stage of the goals setting, for my goal setting phase anyway, when you get to this phase, sometimes you can realize that person that you want to be at the end of 2023, you're not going to be able to be that person this year. So maybe it won't happen December, but maybe it can happen June 2024, based on everything that is in front of you right now, because you're taking stock of everything that you do have right now and everything that you plan to work towards. And if you see that the timelines are just not matching up, it's perfectly fine to go back and say, okay, let me alter this. Let me be a little bit more realistic with who I want to be. Because at the end of this year, I can say I want to be a billionaire, but realistically, the way things are going right now may not happen this year, right? So maybe I have to wheel and come again and say, all right, maybe not this year I'm going to become a millionaire. Maybe I'm going to become a millionaire next year, a billionaire, not a millionaire, a billionaire next year, right? So sometimes you can go back and tweak who you're trying to be, because we don't always get it right, and we all have a fantasy in our head sometimes until we break things down. So that's the, what tip is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth tip. So the next tip alludes to the point I just made in terms of sometimes you're gonna have to look at who you want to become and seeing if it is possible within the timeline that you have in front of you. And this next tip says that you're going to write down how long, realistically, how long it will take you to achieve the goal. Then you're going to look at how long the time frame that you need to achieve the goal within that specific time frame in order to become the person that you've decided you want to be at the end of the year. For example, if it will take you, let's say if it take you a year to save $1 million, right? But you need to save $1 million. Okay, wait, scratch that. If you say it will take you a year and a half to save $1 million, but you've decided at the end of 2023, you want to be a millionaire, you want to have $1 million saved in the bank, then you know that you will need to shave off some time off of that 1 year and 6 month timeline. But at least, you know, realistically, looking at it right now, it's going to take me a year and a half to do it. So it's one of two things that I'm going to do now. It's either I'm going to change my time frame for my goals that I'm setting. Maybe I'm going to set a year and a half goals instead of a year-long goal. I'm going to move back who I want to be at the end of 2023 and put it to the middle of 2024. Or I'm going to make changes to something else, some other area of my life, to ensure that I can save that $1 million faster. So I can get to the $1 million in a year rather than a year and 6 months. So it's taking stock and realizing how long is it going to realistically take, or how long is it going to take me to do this, and how long what's the time frame that I'm working with? Can it fit within the time frame that I have? I hope I'm making some sense. I mean, in my head it makes sense, but this is my practice, so I hope I'm making complete sense, and editing Shanique will jump in and add in little bits if I'm not making any sense, right? And then comes the next phase. So remember, now we have our goals, we did our brain dump, we filtered it out by our whys. Why do we need this? We've decided who we want to become at the end of the year. We have now put timelines against our goals. So we have literally gone through the list as well and picked out the essential goals that feed the person who we're trying to become, and we've put some timelines against them, right? So now what we need to do is to break down these large goals into smaller goals. So if you realize, in everything, anytime you're setting objectives or goals, they always say it needs to be smart, it needs to be specific. We know exactly what we're trying to achieve. It needs to be measurable. So you need to have something against which you can say, okay, you know when it is achieved. Is it when you get to $1 million in the bank account? Is it when you have done your spiritual practice, you've gone to church 6 times for the month? Or, you know, you have measurable, it's measurable. You're able to say when it has been achieved. You've defined what that measurement looks like for you. It's achievable. It's something that you can definitely do. It's realistic, and it is time bound. So we've already created SMART goals already by this point. They're already smart, they're already laid out, they are clear and concise, and we know exactly what we need to do. The next thing we're doing is that we're breaking down each goal into sub goals, because when we put our goals down on paper, they can seem big and they can seem intimidating, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people falter on New Year's resolutions, or they write down the goals and they never see them again until next year when they're doing another goal setting. They're like, oh my God, I did write down this goal, type of thing, because it felt so big, it felt daunting, and it felt like it's never going to happen, and you don't know which way to touch it from. You don't know how to approach it. It's so big. So breaking down those goals into smaller goals helps to make it bite-sized, number one, but it also helps you to easily track it over time. So for example, using the $1 million example again, if you're saying that you want to have $1 million saved by the end of the year, unless you are very diligent and dedicated and tuned into your goals practice, which for a lot of us, life gets in the way and you don't really get to do that, you're not going to check your account until the end of the year to see where you are, to see if you're at the $1 million. And for some people that works fine, and that's great because they're consistently doing whatever. However, for me, what helps is breaking it down into smaller bite-sized pieces. So if by the end of the year I need to have $1 million saved in the bank, I need to break it down now and say, how much is it that I need to save per month? Don't want to get too granular about week. How much is it that I need to save per month? How am I going to get to that month number? So in order to get to, my math is not mathing, and I don't have a calculator right here. So yeah, you can break that up. Okay, kids? Okay, cool. You did the math, great. Now that you've done the math, I should have said 1.2, because that's easy for the brain to calculate. But all all of you math whiz, you know what the number is per month. All right, cool. Because if I start to do no long division in here today, moving on, you know what that number is per month. Cool. Let's say, to make my math easier, let's say it's $1.2 million for the year that you want to save. So we know it's $100,000 per month. Cool. Great. Good job. So, you know, you need to save $100,000 per month. How are you going to save the $100,000 per month? Your sub goal number one is every month you're going to put aside $100,000. Under that sub goal, then you have another sub goal that says you are going to only eat out 3 times for the month. Your eat out budget is that you're going to do a monthly budget of XYZ, so you know how much money you have to spend. So you're breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. So you know you need to save $100,000. You need to save $1.2 million for the year. You need to save, to get there, you need to save $100,000 per month. To get to the $100,000 per month, you need to create a budget, and what you're going to put on that budget is you're going to minimize your spend to be within a certain threshold, within a certain budget. You're going to budget for a certain amount of money that you're going to be able to utilize per month in order to save that $100,000. When you do that, when you break your goals down into smaller bite-sized goals, what you do is you give yourself something to look forward to in shorter time periods. And the way everybody loves positive reinforcement. So when you're able to tick off your to-do list every month something that you've done towards your goal, it helps you to be a lot more consistent. It helps you to keep your goals top of mind, and it's fresh in your head because you're looking at them consistently on over a monthly period, right? That sub goal, breaking down big goals into smaller goals, that helps me so much. It's crazy. Like, that has helped me so much over my life, you know, breaking that down. If you say you're going to buy a house by the end of the year, you need to understand what are the different things that you need to do in order to do. So maybe your first sub goal is research what I need to do to purchase a house. And then after you've done that, you're able to now say, okay, I need to book a meeting with, research different mortgage interest rates at banks, decide on a bank, meet with a bank, get all the documents that I need to get from the bank, reach out to a realtor, all of that. You need to put all your steps in so that you know what your different goals are, for the small goals are, in order to get to that big goal. That's how you're going to achieve it, when you've been able to break it up into bite-sized pieces, right? The next tip is to keep your why in focus. So always remember that you're working towards becoming that person, becoming that version of yourself by the end of the year or by the end of a certain time frame. Always keep that in focus. Now, for me, what I do is at the top of my goal setting sheet, I write down my why. Why am I doing this? You know, what's gonna happen if I don't achieve these goals? What's gonna happen? That's my why. It's gonna affect that end goal up there. I'm not gonna become that person who I want to be. So that helps me to know that, okay, when I don't feel like it, I'm gonna do it. So one of my goals this year is to do my podcast consistently and to grow my podcast platform and community. But I can't do that if I don't record episodes weekly. I can't record episodes weekly if I don't set the time aside to record the episodes. I can't record as well. I can't set the time apart if I don't manage my work day properly, so that I'm able to leave work when I should and get home within a reasonable amount of time. So it's a lot of things that I know I have to do. But my why is I want to do my podcast on a consistent basis. So that's one of my whys, and that's one of my real goals and one of my real whys this year. So that's something that I'm able to keep in focus and know that, okay, I'm working towards that, and it's constantly top of mind, because whenever I do my check-ins on a weekly basis to start out, it's right there on the sheet, so I know exactly that I'm working towards that, right? The next tip is to tick off your goals as you go along. I said it a while ago, positive reinforcement is one of the things that really helps you to feel good about what you're doing and to help you to keep things in check and to really give it your best effort. Like, while you're ticking off your goals, it's not every month that you're going to tick off everything, but don't let that deter you. You know, don't let it deter you because one month you had 5 sub goals, but you're only able to achieve 1, or you're only able to achieve 4. Only thing that I ask and that I would recommend and advise you of is to give it your best effort. Like, don't not give your goals your best effort and say, oh, I was only able to tick off 1 this month, but that's all right. Which, I mean, we're humans and we're not always going to give everything our 100%, but really try to give everything your best effort. Put your best foot forward, and you will realize that when you do that on a consistent basis, life will surprise you, and you get to that $1.2 million in 8 months, and you're like, how? You know, because you were literally beasting out, you were focusing, and you were giving everything 100%. So even if you say, all right, for the month you're gonna put aside 200 grand for you to spend, and you realize that you're being so conscious of your spending and your money that you realize that you're spending like a 150. You know, you're spending 150 per month and you're good and you can live comfortably and you're all right. So what? You have an extra 50,000 that you can say, all right, instead of put down 100,000 every month, I'm going to put on 150, right? You'll realize that that's kind of how, some of the rewards that you start to reap when you give everything your best effort. And sometimes it's really, you're giving it your best effort and it's really just 100,000 you can save, and that is fine. But what giving your best effort will do is help you to remain consistent, so you get to the goals that you're trying to get to. And the very last thing I will say is be flexible with your goals and also with your end goal, because maybe halfway through the year you will realize that your goals they need to change now. You can no longer become that millions saved by the end of 2024 because something else came up that is more important. Maybe you've decided to go for to change careers, and you need to do a new certification, so you need to spend some money on that. It's fine. It's nothing is set in stone, and you are literally the author. Well, in conjunction with God, but you are the one that's writing your story. Nobody is writing this story for you. Nobody is calling you down and beating you over the head with a big stick. It's up to you what you want to do, and the person that you are in January is not necessarily the person that you're going to be in May, and the person that you decided that you want to become by December, in January, that may change throughout the year. But what's important is that the core principles are there. So even if you've decided to change track and to change course, still be very clear about where you're going and how you're going to get there. All right, that's really what it is. Once you have those core habits down pat, it doesn't, the goals and the end goal become semantics, as long as you know how you're planning on getting there. That's really all you need to do, I think. Just know where you're going and have a plan for how you're going to get there. One thing I forgot to mention is to do regular check-ins on your goals and seeing how you're progressing. So set regular time in your schedule to sit down and to do that check-in. So whether you're going to do it weekly like I'm doing now, just because it's January and I'm kind of out of practice. I haven't been doing goal setting for over a year. So I'm a little out of practice. I can't leave it up until the end of the month. I have to do it weekly. So whether you're going to be doing weekly check-ins, daily check-ins, monthly, quarterly, or you're going to do it at the 6-month mark of the year, whatever it is, set something that works for you. If you know that you're somebody who easy to break a habit, my suggestion would be to do more frequent check-ins, so maybe weekly check-ins, until you've gotten the hang of it. Then you can, kind of lessen it and probably do it every month or every quarter. But do regular check-ins so that you can keep yourself accountable. Every business does goal setting. You have businesses who hire people to come in and set your goals for them because it is that important. This is not anything new. It's something that you've heard already, but it's your life, you are literally responsible as an adult. You are responsible for all of it, you know, whether it goes great or it goes bad, it's on you. So take responsibility for yourself and set yourself up for success. That's really what this is all about. Okay, so with all that being said, thank you so very much for watching / listening to this podcast. Remember to follow us on YouTube, to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are not watching us on YouTube right now. It is Hello Adulting Podcast. If you want to reach out to me with suggestions or feedback, you can leave a comment wherever you're listening or watching this podcast, or you can find me on Instagram at SHANZIQUE. You can send me a message over there and I will be more than happy to have a conversation with you or to take on your suggestion for the podcast. Thank you as always for listening. I hope that this is very helpful to you, that you'll be able to do some really great goal setting, and I cannot wait to talk to you on the next episode.